Hi. Part 2, we are here for how to find your creative flow. If you haven't already seen the first video, it's in the video section. There'll be a playlist on there on Project 100, which is where this is all coming from. If you don't know me, welcome to my space. We're having a raging Friday night. I've got my kombucha and my headphones on and I'm snuggled in my bed, and I'm actually kind of excited that this is what I'm getting to do on a Friday night. If you're a mum like me, you're alone, the kids are in bed, you have all this space to just show up and talk about things beyond finding little treasures in the sandpit, or whether or not you can have one more biscuit, or anyway. So today, if you haven't seen it already, the first video covered 3 tips on how to find your creative voice, find your creative flow, and today, if you watch to the end, I will be talking about the other 3 tips, hacks, suggestions, hints, whatever they are, to help you find your creative flow. And this is for whether or not you're traditionally creative like me. If you don't know, I'm Brenda Mangalore. Welcome to my space. Welcome here on your Friday night. And as always, if you're watching with me live, make sure you comment below #YayLive. Hi. And if you're watching on a replay, make sure you still comment #YayReplay so that I know you are on, and it's a way for you to really connect with me as well, even if you're not on here with me live. And anytime you have any kind of insights or ahas with all my trainings, I always encourage you to also comment, because it's a proactive action, and that action helps cement that insight into your mind as well, and it connects with me, and I know what resonates with you guys. And then I also know that, it was valuable. So what you could do is just comment #value if you found some value in what I'm saying, and all the heart showers as well really help. As well. And I'm recovering from a cold and flu, so excuse me, and I'll be drinking a lot from my kombucha, which is my raging Friday night. I don't really drink alcohol anyway, probably because I'm still breastfeeding, but so let's get to it. Hi, say hi if you're on. #YayLive. How to find your creative flow. Confession, I was so not feeling any flow at the moment today. I did at the beginning, in the middle, in the morning, and I was doing some stuff, but you hit that afternoon, and maybe it's a Friday night thing, but it felt like a Wednesday thing where you kind of lose all your steam and you're like, and so I'm like, I'm gonna come on and talk about creative flow, and I wasn't feeling into flow. But one of the tips I'm going to be talking about today is going to be how to kind of really find it, especially when you're dragging your feet and that flow feels more like glacial, being stuck in honey, muddy, suction, anchory things, versus the kind of overflowing, lovely feeling that you get when you're really in flow, just like floating down a river and that kind of stuff. So yes, when you stay to the end, you're going to get that. And as always, love heart showers whenever you feel connected to what I'm saying. And yeah, if you're excited about finding your creative flow, what is your creativity like at the moment? I would love to know. Comment below, where are you feeling creatively stuck? Are you really knowing where your creative flow is, or you just think you just need to find that one thing that's going to help you get into it? What's your creative flow feel like at the moment, currently? So I just said, for me, today wasn't feeling the very best, but I am showing up anyway. I'm going to be sharing these tips, and I do use these. Half of the time I forget about them, but I do use them as part of my creative practices as well. And so just a recap, if you haven't seen the video in the first one, the 3 that I shared in that first video, definitely go check it out, because I do ramble a lot, but then a lot of gold always comes up when I really get into the flow of sharing my thoughts and my experiences and my connection with my creativity in order to find that flow. And really, the flow is where you get that inspired inspiration, where it kind of feels beyond you and it's bigger than you, and you feel connected to the divine, and you can create that magic where you step back and you're like, I can't believe that came from me. That's the beauty of being in flow, and that's what you're able to achieve, whether it is a traditional painting like me, or whether it is working with a client, or whether it is creating online courses like I'm doing, which is what this whole training stuff is for. Yeah, so this is what we want. That's like the gold. I reckon that's what we're always looking for in life, in our adventure, in our play, in our relationships. So the three that I shared two nights ago, the first one was routine and rituals. I found being able to train my mind to be able to slip into flow on cue whenever I need to. I require having certain routines and certain rituals, and really it is up to you to find that, to either train your mind with triggers, just like making any habit, because creativity is a habit, to then train your mind to get into that feeling. So that requires you, a lot of this is about knowing yourself and observing recognizing when you were in flow and when you come out of it, because we're always aware when we're not in flow. And we just feel really like stuck and everything feels really clumsy. If you can recognize the time when you were in flow and then really be observant and mindful about, okay, what were the conditions around that? What did I need around me? What were certain tools that I use? And I could then mindfully choose those tools. Where I suggested like my morning coffee cup. I had a certain coffee cup that whenever I drink it, I really made myself use that as a trigger to really get into my creative zone. And made it from both a routine in the sense that you do it all the time in order to really train yourself, and then making a ritual really makes it sacred and mindful and intentional as well, and that really helps with flow. I'm reading my notes here, so if I'm looking here, it's because I've got my laptop. And all of this I am actually taking from my notes from my course Creativity Catalyst, which is available for Muse Mamas, which I'm going to be finding a way to put it into my membership for Muse Mamas. If you are an ambitious, creative, spiritual mama, whether of actual babies or just birthing projects that are calling you, if you know that there is something more than where you're at and you want more than where you are at now, whether it's beyond your kids and beyond your mamahood, and you're just feeling that call and that nudge, and you want a village to help you be the woman that you want to be, to really answer that call, to really find that clarity, to find that connection, all in connection with your creativity, then Muse Mamas might be for you. You probably already are a Muse Mama if you resonate with me. So check that out, and you have access to Creativity Catalyst, which is really a course about finding your creative spark. And one of the little modules in there is about flow and productivity, and which is some of the tips that I'm sharing with you today, but it goes a lot deeper about how you can apply it and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so the three, before I get distracted again. Routine and rituals was the first one in the video I did previously for part 1. We are now in part 2, so I don't forget. Hashtag still paying attention if you're still following along. So number 1, hashtag routine and rituals was your first tip. Second was, on the flip side of routine and rituals is variety. When routine and rituals become something more of a dull, anchory, when you kind of feel like you're in a rut, right? That's when you need to add variety into your creative practice, into your day, into just your normal stuff that you do all the time. That can actually bring you into creative flow, into being in the zone. And I used the example in the video in the first part 1 was like trying a new recipe. When you use your same recipes that you usually do for cooking dinner, you can easily get into the zone. You know what you need to do. You got all your stuff around you. It's really easy. But sometimes you feel like you're in a rut, and you're not in the zone when you're in a rut, right? You could be monotonous, mindlessly doing stuff, but that's not really flow. There's none of that golden feeling of being really inspired. And so when you try a new recipe, just like when you add variety, you're kind of going a little off from what it's comfortable, and it's a little uncomfortable, and it's that beautiful sweet spot of just outside your comfort zone, just a little bit difficult, but not too difficult, which is all about flow really. Is like trying a new recipe, you have to really focus, you have to be really present, you have to check in the details, you have to watch all the little things. And when you're doing that, you don't have space in your mind to be distracted by all the other things. You're thinking about your to-do list and, oh yeah, that thing we need to get to, and that errand, and just like mulling all that stuff and inner critic things, because you're too busy. Focus on the next instruction and the next ingredient you got to put in, all that kind of stuff. And so adding variety to your normal routine can help with finding your way into creative flow. And then the third one If you just come on, make sure you say hi and comment below #YeahLive so that I know you're on, because I can see when you're on. And don't be lurking silently, because then you're not connecting proactively with what I'm sharing. And what I'm if you're on here, I'm trusting that you need what I'm sharing. And half the time I'm not even sure what I'm saying, but I'm trusting that what comes out was needed by you and it's inspired for you. And that is actually part of being in the zone too. So the third one, because there's 3 parts. There was 2-part video. This is part 2 now. And I shared these 3 in part 1. So many words, part. Routine and rituals was the first one. Second one was variety. And then the third one was what I call prayer, pause, and presence. And these 3 things, you use them as a way to pray, connect to God, connect to the divine, and really have a moment to pause, to really connect, to bring yourself that focus. It's like making a ritual, right? Where you're like, okay, I want to be connected. I want to create from beyond just the messy, distracted me, but from the me that is inspired and connected to the Muse and to God and to the divine, whatever your flavor of that is. Prayer, and then pause. Pause is also not just about pausing for that moment and being present and connected just like in prayer, but also pausing the distractions and the inner critic stuff and the voices telling you, what are you doing, and who are you to think that you can do that? Just pausing it for a sec and still doing it. And this pausing it also stops all those voices from distracting you from getting into flow, because you can't be in flow if you're still thinking about the stuff that you're scared of or distracted by or frustrated by or worried about. And so prayer is the connecting to God part. Pause is the pausing of all that craziness and being really present. And that's where the third one, presence, where you can be really present and really here and removing all those distractions aside. And that connection to presence is really important into getting into flow. And if you don't have that presence, that's why you feel like you've lost sense of time when you're in the zone, when you're in flow. It's because you're so present that there is no time. You're just doing the work, and you're doing an incredible amount of work in a short period of time. All time just passes so quickly because you're just absorbing and experiencing and being in that moment. So yes, so those were the 3. So today, still here, still enjoying this. Make sure you give me all the love heart showers, and let me know what resonated with you, what you would want to take on with you. Oh, there's a weird fly thing here. To try on for your next creative project, for your next day, just for your life. You can be totally in the zone, not even creating a creative project, but like just be in the zone for the day. You know, just as a mum, I know there's been days where you're just like in the zone, where you're just on top of things, and breakfast, and the kids are all eating when they're supposed to eat, and there was like hardly any fighting about putting shoes on, and we're just out the door on time. And there might even be like 5 minutes spare to like just relax and find a park. That kind of stuff. These things are all practices for your actual creativity and for your creative work to be in that zone. And that can apply for any part of your life. Anyway, that was a random thing that I've just put in there. So today, tip number 1 for how to find your flow, to connect to your creative flow, is, let me take a sip before I go on. Let me check. Am I actually online? Am I actually connected? Can you guys hear me properly? Probably should have checked with you. Let's see. Yes, I am online. Okay. Right, are we excited? Tip number 1 of how to find your creative flow. Flow follows focus. Right, so if you've seen, they all kind of follow a similar thread from the 3 tips that I gave before from video 1 about being present, about the routine and rituals, about being connected. Flow follows focus. This is a mantra that I use especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed, especially like right now where I've got a few things happening at the same time. I've got a workshop that I'm trying to sell, in-person workshop. So if you're really interested in watercolors, if you're in Melbourne, if you're a Melbourne friend, and you would love to learn a really simple way to connect your creativity using watercolors and be able to have materials provided for you. You don't need artistic experience at all, but sometimes it's nice to just get away, and I do my watercolors so that I could have that zone, get into the zone in small little bits of time. And so yeah, hashtag below what watercolor workshop if you're interested, and I'll give you the details. It's happening. And I've got that. I've got my Muse Mamas membership. I've got paintings I want to do because I've got an original release that I want to release in October. And I've got this Project 100, which I will talk about later, for creatives who want to take their creative practice, their creative career seriously and rise it up to the next chapter from just hobby to pro, to create a real body of work really cohesively and to really find your creative voice in order to find your creative flow, which is all about being a professional artist and all that kind of stuff. So all these things, right, it's really can be really overwhelming. It can be really distracted. I can be all flustered and frustrated, and at the end of the day, you could, because of all of that going on, you don't really feel very productive because you're just kind of like flitting from one thing to another, but not really ever getting into anything. And then that means because you really couldn't get into the flow or anything and get distracted by this next thing. Flow follows focus, right? And this is actually just like how creativity is a habit. Focus is also like a muscle that you need to exercise and use. And also sometimes if you've been using a lot for other things, it kind of gets tired and you're not going to be able to get that. And so you need to honor that, but at the same time recognize when you're being distracted is probably because your focus muscles aren't strong and you need to practice that. And so that means, right, you have to prioritize doing that as a society, and especially as a mum, and you feel like you have to because that's just what life is. You have to multitask. You're going to do a whole bunch of things at the same time. You're thinking about something else at the same time that you're doing that thing, and then you're like handling 3 things at any one time. But this is why at the end of the day you feel exhausted and you feel like you've done a billion things, your brain is fried, and yet you did not reach and done anything that felt fulfilling, felt like you really achieved anything, or felt like you were really connected, which is about being connected to your creative flow. And the sad part, even though we would love to be able to do all this multitasking thing, is you need to make it a priority. It has to be said, even though it hurts sometimes, because you're like, how the fuck am I going to be able to get everything done? The flow will come if you can focus. And sometimes that means focus for 20 minutes at a time. But imagine what you can achieve in that 20 minutes, if that 20 minutes was full flow and you were totally in flow, and that's when time feels like it's stopped. You can do 1,000 things in that 20 minutes because you were fully in flow, versus in that 20 minutes, you're trying to do 5 things at once and you do them all really badly. And so what that means is you need to create boundaries around yourself. You need to make it a priority. If it's a certain project that you're like, I haven't been able to really get into it, I haven't really been able to dive in, it's probably because you haven't prioritized and really created that boundary of time, as well as attention, as well as energy, to focus on the one thing. And it doesn't mean you have to have 3 hours in a row. It just means you're like, maybe for 20 minutes, maybe for an hour of the 24 hours that you have in the day, you're going to focus on this one thing. And because just like it's a muscle, sometimes it means you have to do it first thing in the morning, or before you get to all the firefighting and all the kids and all the reacting and all the 1,000 other things that's going to need your attention. You draw that boundary to focus on that one thing, and that is how you're going to get into creative flow. And if you're new to this concept, right, maybe you just need to write it down and really repeat that to yourself. Flow follows focus. Right. What else have I got in my notes here? Yes, I have to practice it just as much, because sometimes it is so easy to get into that distracted, overwhelming, and to fall for those lies that resistance tries to tell you and goes, oh, since you can't really do it right now, maybe you can get to this. Oh, I got this shiny new idea. You should like write that down and start researching that right now. Oh, and you see something really interesting on Facebook and you're like, oh, that's right, I've been wanting to do that. Let's go look into that right now and follow that link. And then like an hour later, you've done like maybe kind of started 5 things but never really gotten into it, and you might have ticked some boxes off, but none of them was this one thing that you really wanted to focus on, that you really wanted to get and dive into and really create something and really do something in a bigger way. And that's probably because you got distracted. Maybe resistance has used it, to kind of take you away from it. And if you can keep telling yourself flow follows focus, imagine trying to say that really quickly when you've got a bad cold, all that saliva. But yes, one thing at a time. I know it's hard, but you will find that if you can draw that boundary to yourself and then use the other tips like having a routine, having the ritual, you know, doing the prayer, having that pause, being really present, say to yourself and prioritize and draw that boundary for yourself. Even if it's 20 minutes at a time, you might have to practice this just like a muscle. You need to practice and build that up. Maybe you start with 10 minutes at a time of just the one thing, and then you go to 20, and then you go to 30, and then you can do like an hour of focus. And you'll be amazed at what you can achieve and do in a much deeper way, and like cross much more to-dos off your to-do list, but in a kind of bigger way, not just in terms of quantity, but in the quality of the work, which is really what being in a zone is about. The quality of the work, the quality of the connection, the quality of ideas and inspired action that you can take when you're in flow, that will come if you can just focus one thing. No multitasking, no distractions, no like listening to music and having notifications on and then writing in your journal at the same time as reading some other thing and then having YouTube on. Even though you probably can, because you're amazing, you're probably a Muse mama, but try and practice. Just try it out. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, focus one thing that you really want to get done, really, really want to do. Even if you don't finish it and you come out of it, even if you put a timer on, I'll love for you to come out and just practice it, and then you'll get little tastes of that feeling where you're like, oh, was that 20 minutes up already? That felt like 2 seconds. That's your way of practicing being in flow. And this is also your way then you can practice, okay, so that really worked to get me into flow. This is what I had around me to really get into flow. This is what I was thinking and working on and what I had to really do to tell myself in order to get into creative flow. So all of these are all good things. All right, let me look at time. I don't want to take too long for this. Excuse me. Any ahas, comment them below. Any questions, comment them below. I'm here. Since I'm here, I'm happy to answer questions as well. I would love to know what is it that's been really ahas and insights and stuff for you. Oh, excuse me. All right. Ready? We ready for number 2? Number 2. Just show up. This is perfect for like what I was saying if you weren't here. At the beginning of this video, I was saying I wasn't feeling really in the mood. I wasn't feeling motivated. I wasn't really feeling the creative flow for this video training. But I wanted to just show up anyway, and I wanted to share these things because it's really important, because I'm talking about it a lot, about creative flow and finding a creative voice, because I'm launching Project 100, hashtag Project 100, for creatives who want to really go up a level deeper and bring their creative practice to go pro with it. I can't even articulate right now. And so this tip number 2 is just show up. And the not flip side, but the companion mantra, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, the companion mantra to just show up is don't think, just do. Sometimes you don't feel like it. Like today, I just not feeling like it. I was just feeling really deflated. We had a big tantrum that we had to deal with, and that was just emotionally exhausting for me. And I think I was just doing a lot of admin. Anyway, you get me. You know, one of days where you're just like not feeling it, not in the mood. And sometimes you need to honor that. Maybe that's the kind of part of the creative cycle you're at. But sometimes you also, besides all the routines and the rituals and the prayers and being present and, you know, you've tried focus, and if I'm still feeling really frustrated normally, you know, after all the focus and all those kind of things, and I'm still feeling distracted and I can't get started, or when I start I kind of stop and then do something else, I then say to myself, just show up, don't think, just do. Because a lot of the time I'm distracted is because the voices in my head, oh, you shouldn't have done it that way, or oh, I think you did it wrong, you should have done this instead, and then I stop and then I get all shitty about whatever. Don't think, just do. Just show up, which is what I'm doing now. And there have been moments where I really felt like I was in the zone because I'm just talking and I'm showing up and I'm trusting in my notes, and I'm trusting in my creativity, and I'm trusting my creative process and my connection to that. And I know that what I'm going to be sharing with you is going to be valuable. And if you're here and you're watching this, definitely hashtag below, comment below, hashtag value, if you found value in what I'm sharing, so that I know, and it really helps to boost these videos as well, so that more people can see it, and really, you know, makes my day, to be honest. But this mantra, don't think, just do, sometimes that's just a kick in the ass I need, right? Sometimes you need to mother yourself the way you would your kid, the people that work for you, all that kind of stuff, where you're just like, Brenda, don't think, just do. Just show up, trust, right? Because a lot of the time, if resistance comes up, if you kind of think it, if you're trying to think your way there, you're not going to do it. If you try to think your way to clarity, you're not going to find it. And if you've already tried all this other stuff about being present and the routines and the stuff, sometimes you just, even though you don't feel like it, to just show up and just do, and you draw those boundaries around yourself in terms of focus, you may, and a lot of time I do find myself getting to a flow, even though I said, okay, I'll just do 20 minutes of this. And if it doesn't work and I'm still not in flow, I will give myself permission to go watch Netflix for a while. But half the time, when I really just show up and I really go all in and I don't think, just do, because I know I'm overthinking, and I just do, I find myself in creative flow, and then an hour later, it's done, it's beautiful. I didn't even know where that came from, because I know that I was not feeling it, I was not inspired, I was not motivated. So when all else fails, as I write in my notes, just start. Even if it's a 10-minute session, it's a lot of the time, and this is really, again, self-awareness, right? If you know you're overthinking something, if you know that you've been convincing yourself and psyching yourself and telling yourself, yeah, I really should, but then, you know, I never really get to it. And every time you're doing that and saying those excuses, you probably just need to show up. You need to just do it. Don't think, just do. Great mantra that I sometimes forget. Because now I've been practicing it so much, I forget this is what I actually say to myself. It's why I make deadlines. It's why I do these trainings live, so that I don't have to overthink it. Because if I pre-record it and I have to like think about the way I look, it's like I'm, unwashed hair right now. I'm in my bed doing this, but because I just show up, and because I said I was going to show up, and I'm not overthinking it, and I'm just doing it, it gets done. And it's probably going to be 100 times better than if I try to preempt it and pre-record everything. I probably won't upload it because I'll overthink it, and I'll really want to rewatch all this again and question everything, and then I allow resistance to really step in and stop me in my tracks. Don't do that to yourself. Just show up, don't think, just do. Tip number 2. So, as always, what do you guys think? What do you think? How does this apply for you? How could you use this right now in what you're doing, what you've been avoiding, what you've been procrastinating, what you've been saying to yourself? Oh yeah, I really should, but I just haven't really, you don't understand. How? I would love to know. Comment below while I drink this. All right. I should probably, if you'll excuse me, let me share this so that it gets some love. Because all of this, as much as I love talking about creativity and I love sharing about my experiences, and my calling is to inspire ambitious, spiritual, creative women to live a life of joyful purpose in connection with your creativity. That means sharing all this stuff because I love to connect with people, and it's why I love my paintings more than just making beautiful paintings, to connect with my collectors and my clients, commission clients especially. But I love that it attracts people who love color. I love the fact that it attracts these people who have joyful lives and who has all intents, whose purpose is to live that joyful life, because I know that's what I'm looking for. And they want that, and they recognize that, because my paintings serve as a mirror for these people, where they see it and it really is a reflection of their joyfulness right inside. And so I love that my paintings can attract people like that, and my work in that way. But really as well, right now I am launching hashtag Project 100, where it is 100 days to create a body of work that you can use to launch your creative career, from whether it's just to move from hobby to being professional and really embracing that mindset. Maybe you've never given yourself that time and invested that energy and attention and focus on really diving in and going, could I really do something with this and really take it seriously and actually build that body of work and really trying it out. And it's more than just the practical side, because I know this is what I wished for when I first started my being a professional artist, because I really got distracted by like, oh, what website should I have, and oh, you know, what about my tools, have I got the right paintbrushes, or, and then when really what I really needed and what I wish I had known earlier was to really create a body of work, to really know what my creative voice was. And I spent so much time wasting trying out a few different things and then doubting everything and not knowing and all that kind of stuff. And I was doing all of this alone as well. I had a coach earlier. I was finally got my mind right and I actually got someone to help me create boundaries and different habits, because I was so used to working in corporate that now that I had all the time in the world, I wasn't doing anything. I was procrastinating all the time, and he really taught me how to draw boundaries around my creative time and actually creating the work. But a lot of the time I was just by myself. I was questioning my creative voice, and because I was questioning my creative voice, I really couldn't find any flow in my creative practice. And I just wished I had this thing, and which is why I created Project 100, to really help that me, and to really help those of you who are creative, and you know you're creative and you've been playing with something, whether it is baking cakes or it is writing that book, or whether it is illustrating the comic books, or whatever it is, making jewelry, or whether it is say hi if you're on Project 100 I'm talking about right now, and or whatever your creative work is, but you want to bring it up a level and really create that body of work, to really launch it from just hobby that, you know, you've been playing around, and really take it seriously. Hey Emma, I'm kind of halfway through. I covered 2 tips. The first one was I've already forgotten because I was talking about Project 100. First one was flow follows focus, and the second one was the mantra, just show up, don't think, just do. And I was just asking, you know, how is your creative practice? How is your creativity? How is your flow going? And what is it that you're struggling with? And what is it that you like had insights with? And yes, and I was talking about Project 100 because the reasons why I wanted to make it was really for past me, where I got really distracted by all the, you know, I wanted to be a professional artist. I wanted to bring my creative practice up a level and really take it more seriously. And I was really distracted by marketing and tools and research and stuff, when really what I needed was to create a body of work and to really be cohesive with my body of work, and to know my creative voice and know how to find my flow and really be able to do that on tap in a way that is like inspired and connected. And I didn't really have that, and I wasted so much time, which is why I wanted to do this Project 100, which is 3 months. It's kind of a course as well as a mentoring program, so that it's both personalized as well as having a structure, and so that I can create that community, because for a long time I didn't have that community that I do have now, where I'm connected to other creatives, even if they're not all painters. But that sense of creativity and understanding the needs of a creative, you need that, because as much as your friends and your family, you know, supportive, totally, they're loving, so totally grateful for it, but they don't really understand. And so yeah, so that's where Project 100 is. Actually I should do that now before I totally get distracted, which is what happened last time in that video. I still got tip number 3, so stay on so I don't forget. I'm putting this in right now. I was supposed to share this. I get distracted so easily. And that's the thing. When you're distracted, you can't really be in flow, but sometimes you're distracted because flow will just bring you wherever you go. And I'm totally feeling that right now, because I just showed up, because I wasn't feeling in flow this morning, and I just showed up and I trusted, and don't think, just do, and focus. I'm really focused right now on here. I'm being here. Even if I sound like I'm rambling and I'm being distracted, I'm very focused at being here and showing up for you guys and sharing how you can find your creative flow, your flavor of it. Don't have to just follow me and exactly my tools. because your creative practice is unique to you, whatever your creative projects are. So that's there. All the details are there for Project 100. All right. So third tip. We've done, first one was flow follows focus. These are great mantras to remember. Flow follows focus, no multitasking, focus. It's a muscle, it's a habit. You have to practice it, you got to prioritize it, you got to treat it like a muscle sometimes, and it means you have to work at it to get it stronger. 2, just show up, don't think, just do. If you're finding that after all the tips, if you've watched video 1, where I shared all the other tips, the other 3 tips before, and you've done all of those things, the routines and the rituals and the prayer and the presence and pausing, and you've tried focusing and yet you're still distracted, yet you are still jumping from this to that and you can't get started and you're still procrastinating and you're still overthinking, really, which is the trick, which is why don't think, just do. When you just show up, you still commit to doing it. This is why you do deadlines. This is why you connect and have a community, because they're going to hold your ass on the line and make you show up. Emma, what are you saying? I totally needed this gentle butt kick tonight. I'm glad you think it's gentle, because I always think that I'm really harsh. I probably will be a lot harsher when I'm doing one-on-ones. Emma's saying, you are speaking straight to me. Oh, great. I love that. And you're totally on top of things and you're totally inspiring, and that's why you're a Muse mama and you totally need it. But sometimes I hear you, sometimes you just need an extra kick to really no, I'm going to unleash this. No, this is a gentle one. Okay, cool. If you need me to bring it up a notch, I probably would. On one-on-ones, I think I would. As my friends can tell you, that sometimes I get a lot of those comments where I'm like, Brenda, you can't say that. And I'm learning to kind of overcome that thinking, where I'm like, but I wasn't saying it in a mean way or in a negative way, but always said with love, but also because it's truth and because I felt like you needed it. And sometimes I'm so in the flow that it really isn't from me. It's probably inspired, and it was inspired for you. Tip number 3, before I get totally distracted. I've been on for 37 minutes. All right. Oh, this is a big one. If you know, and you probably can hear from my slightly sexy voice, I still got a slightly sexy voice. I had been battling the flu for a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and kind of half lost my voice, not really. And really leads into tip number 3, last one for tonight, is health and play. Okay, in your creative work, we talk about creative flow, and it's very mental, it's very in our head. It's about emotional stuff as well, which is why I did Project 100. I know I keep talking about it, but this is what it's all about. Project 100, it was more than just, hey, do a 30 a day, painting a day project, and there you go, there's a body of work, right? There's the practical side of stuff where you actually have to make that body of work, whether it is a portfolio of illustrations and you want to do graphic design, whether it is jewelry, whether it is online courses, whether it is baking cupcakes, whatever that is, there's the actual making of it, right? The creative thing, if it's spreadsheets or sales pages. But then there's also the emotional and mental side of things, and we really focus on that because it is really important, the mindset work, right? The emotional and mental health and the mindset and the being able to get into flow, a lot of it is that mind stuff, because it's like your mind expands. There is no time, there is no here, you're just in that real presence of being, and then you just create these amazing things when you're in flow, which is all mental. But the thing is, you forget, and I know I do this because I'm very much a thinker, and I'm a lot about heart and the head and like divine and connection, all that kind of stuff, but I forget, right? I've got this on my notes. These are all mental, emotional, spiritual practices, and I love talking about it. I love sharing all that stuff. But I forget me, and I keep learning this lesson this year. So I've really been getting on top of that. Is 100 TCL tips. Hello, next book. Okay. Physical health, which is this last tip about health and play. Your physical health right now, in any moment, for all your cerebral, for all your thinking, for all of that stuff, your amazing creativity, for the amazing cakes that you make, for the way you show up and you present as a public speaker, all those kind of things. If your physical health, we forget that we are still in physical beings. We are still beings in this physical body. For all the mind travel and people talk about astral projection and all that kind of stuff, whatever that is, whatever your flavor is of that, you are still in this body. And if we do not take care, just as much as we don't take care of our creativity and exercise those muscles, your focus muscles I've been talking about, and your emotional health and your mindset, if you don't look after your physical body, you cannot get into flow. In order to work, and this is what my notes says as well, you need to look after all aspects of your health. If you want to get into flow consistently, frequently, really, and in a way that feels easy and as part of your everyday, all aspects of your health. So that means you need to look after physical health, spiritual health, mental health, emotional health. And physical health here is a really big part, because I know and I see it all around with the people I talk to and the people we always talking about how, after a big event, you always get a flu after. Maybe it's a resistance flu. We talk about sabotage flu all the time. But really, a lot of it is, as well, is maybe a reminder that when we get too stuck into something, and especially when you get in flow, right? I know I'm the same when I'm painting and I get fully in flow. I forget to eat. I forget that I need to go to the toilet. I forget, because you suddenly don't need your body and you're like fully into making, and yet you come back and you're tired and your feet hurt, and I had like lower back issues. And then that just means I couldn't paint and I couldn't really create, because I'm dealing with that stuff, because you need your body and you should never take that for granted. Just as I always say, never take your creativity for granted. Always acknowledge it. Always embrace it. Always treat it just like any relationship with someone you love. You have to look after all aspects of that. And so what does that mean? What does that mean by health? It's the stuff we all know. You need to sleep as much as you can and have quality sleep. You need to eat healthy and really treasure this physical gift that we have that does all this stuff without us even having to think about it. I mean, it's really our subconscious mind. I remember just hearing someone say that our subconscious, our unconscious mind is actually our bodies, because it does all these things without us, and how powerful our unconscious mind is, because all our conscious mind may wish to do something, but if you have stuff hidden in your unconscious mind, you're not going to do it. That's why you procrastinate. That's why things come up. That's why you have sabotage flu. And I'm like, how powerful is that? And why would you not take care of it when it has that much power over your life and your ability to fully show up as the Muse mama that you want to be, fully show up as the incredible warrior woman who can fulfill that calling that's been nudging at you, or maybe screaming at you to get done, right? So let me see what Emma's been saying. Care for your body, yes, physical, mental, spiritual health, emotional health as well. And yes, I forget to pee too, Emma. Yes, yeah, right? Because you're in flow and it's amazing, and it's and also it's a mum thing where you're like, you just don't get to pee all day because you've got babies who need you and you can never be alone anyway, and so then you just stop it and you hold on to it. It's just silly. And so part of this is also stuff like meditation and exercise, but the meditation part I've got here, it's mental health, but I think it's also part of both, right? It's the clearing of that mental health. It's the clearing of, having a sweat on so that you can really clear all the bad hormonal stuff and toxins, and how well are you eating. But health is not just health in order to get into creative flow, because you're going to prime your body, just like how an athlete, right? Think of an Olympian. They have to fully be in flow in order to really show up so they can win that gold medal. And so they really prime their bodies, but they also prime their minds. And they also not just exercise and do the physical work to build up the muscles in their area of whatever it is that they need to perform in. They also do exercises in other areas, because it's the full body. And it wasn't just the full body. They have to clear their mind. They have to clear their mental health. They have to clear their spiritual connection, make sure they're really, and that's why you hear stories of people where they might be doing really well in one area and then really suck in another area, and then in the end it's not sustainable. And we want sustainable, joyful, right? I'm talking about, I only want to work with my calling is to help you live a life of joyful purpose. And so the other part of this health side is play. Because, and I really learned this as well, this is something I always forget because, you know, creativity is part of my work. It's my job. This is what I have to do. I have to show up. I have to produce. And so, yeah, it means if I have to, I would do all-nighters and sacrifice my health in order to get this stuff done. And yet, this is a very short-term thing. I want to be creative all my life, and I want to be able to create in deeper ways. And I can't do that if I can only do little short spurts of creativity. And same for you. If you want to go deeper and you want to be like creating masterpieces and make your life a masterpiece, because we all have that ability to do that, you need to be able to sustain it. So that means looking after all the aspects of your health and also including play. And I forget this because I get really bogged down with this has to sell, and, you know, I have to create a painting and who's going to want to buy this and all these kind of questioning. And sometimes I forget to just play. That's why kids can be focused amazingly for their very distracted minds. When they're fully playing, they're really focused on what they're playing on, and they can do that. Play can really help you get into flow. Play it lets you, you know why? I've got my notes here. This is why I love my notes. There's the structure, and then there's the flow of just like unleashing out onto you, right? Play enables your mind to release the worries and the doubts and the talking. When you're playing, you're not like wondering, oh no, am I doing it right? Or is this the proper way of doing it? Or what if this person's really upset? Like, you don't have any of those kind of voices. You're just like, well, how can I play? How can I find joy in this? How can I just enjoy? And when you play, it's also when you can be present, which is one of the tips that I shared. And it's way about joy, because joy is how you can really tap into flow in a way that is like amazing. Not because actually, no, you can't. You can't do it any other way. Like, how do you... Because I'm in my head, I'm trying to think if there's a situation where I could be fully in flow, but under duress and under incredible pressure. No, not really. And also, what was the other thing? Play enables you to experiment without fear, right? To really try, to really expand out of your comfort zone in a playful way. And when you do it in a playful way, you would try, because this is what I'm learning with having a preschooler. When it feels more playful and joyful, she is more eager to try new things. And if it fails, it's totally okay. And then she'll try again. And then she finds more of her creative flow and really find her way to you. This is how you learn new things. This is how you expand your abilities to create more, create differently, create in a deeper way. And it also, can continue with a new habit, right? Play when you want to do something different, and when you want to try a new habit, when you want to like try something that's, you know, maybe you want to eat better, maybe you want to exercise more, all the things that we all find hard. When you introduce play into it, it's less hard. It makes it easier. And when it's easier, you're more likely to do it. And when you're more likely to do it, that's when your life changes. And part of that is all feeding into flow, right? I've been sharing all these tips in these these 2 training videos. These might require you to think differently, to tweak the way you show up in a different way. And that means sometimes doing things that are new. And new sometimes change, as always, is hard because it's hard to sustain. You get bored. You find it really difficult. Why do you have to do it like this? Why can't I stick to what I know? Because you want more, because you want to create your masterpiece, because you want to take your big dreams seriously, because you want to create whatever it is that's been nudging at you and it's now starting to scream at you, and you want to get it done because you want to be more than just here, right? Just accepting the status quo. And so, how then, right? How does this apply? You think about your health and where the part that you're kind of neglecting, where you're really good at, plus where you're kind of neglecting. Is it the mental part? Is it the spiritual part, health? Or is it like the physical health? Or probably a combination of all of them in some way to try and keep that balance and tweak your way into it. And if you maybe flow is important to you, use that as another incentive. And another way to really try and get those habits that you want to do, and I'm forgetting this as well, is to introduce the play part of it, to find the playfulness of it. Like, you can still be taking things seriously, you can still be doing something that is, you know, big serious work, right? Because it is my work. But adding that play has meant that I could try out my new watercolors project and do a painting a day project and really add that playfulness. It was how I was able to have a really successful, my first art fair, in-person art fair was really successful because I added a sense of playfulness, because I felt like, you know what, I was just not only just grateful to be there, but I was almost feeling playful. I got to show up. This was my work. I could talk about my art all the time, and I could dress up really nice, and I haven't done that in a long time, since having the baby, who is almost 1. And so, you know, having lipstick on and just like wearing my fancy watch and like just feeling that playfulness meant that I could come into it and really get into the flow of talking to people and connecting with you know, potential buyers, and talking to people who are interested in my work and other artists and stuff like that. And there was a sense of flow in that as well. So yes, those were the 3 tips. I think that is all. Let me see what my notes can say. Yeah, play, health. So the 3 tips that I covered today. If you haven't seen the first video, definitely go check that out, because I covered the 3 other tips beforehand about routine and rituals, about, let me see, what was it? Routines and rituals, about then on the flip side, adding variety to your creative practice, and then the prayer, pause, presence. It doesn't have to be in that order, but it was just the way I had said it beforehand. So prayer, pause, presence. Watch that video. It was actually cut short because I got distracted and something happened with my phone, and I've gone on way too longer than I wanted to. But to recap for tonight, thank you for being here, Emma. If you have any questions about your creativity, drop them down below now so I can answer it for you. About creative flow, about finding your version of it, whatever you're struggling with, let me know, and then I will recap it, and then we can all go off and have our raging Friday night with my kombucha. This is my alcoholic drink, because I'm breastfeeding, and I don't drink alcohol, but you know. Any questions? If not, let's recap. The first one for tonight. Yeah, thank you, Emma. I'm glad that this was super helpful. Yes. A lot of it was probably inspired just for you. So the first one was flow follows focus. I know I'll probably ramble a lot and stuff like that, but really, flow follows focus. And it's something especially for mamas who really, really have these chronic issues about multitasking, because we totally need it, and I totally get that. But when you really want to find that deep connection to get into flow, really practice it. It's a muscle. Prioritize it. Make it a thing in your life. This is how you can find flow. Really. Besides presence, I reckon focus is one of the things that you really need. 2 was just show up. Don't think, just do. Just like how I did tonight. And that was actually really cool. I think this video was pretty full of gold, because I just showed up even though I totally did not feel like it. I was not motivated. I was feeling really like low energy. I'm probably gonna like need to have a sit in front of TV right now after this, but I'm so glad I just showed up. I just didn't overthink it, and I just did, and all kinds of gold are coming up. I might have to actually rewatch this myself when I need to find my way back to flow. And number 3, last one, was health and play. For all the tips and everything, remember your health, because those are the things we always forget, and you only remember it when it's too late and you're already sick. But always take it as a lesson. It means just like for me, I got to relearn that lesson after a week and a half of flu again. A lot of it was sabotage flu and resistance flu, because I didn't want to, I was resisting launching Project 100. So if that is for you, there is a comment in this, I will pin it so that you will find information about Project 100 if it resonates with you. You get to work one-on-one with me at an stupid incredible price, and as well as in the course structure. And really, we will be talking about not just finding your flow, but finding your creative voice, because what I've really learned in the years that I've been working on this as a professional artist is that it's hard to find your creative flow when you don't really know your creative voice. And this is really for creatives who are wanting to up level yourself to the next level of your work, whatever it is, to really take it seriously and take it up a notch, and to really find what your creative voice is, and to create, this is why we have 100 days together, to create a body of work that you can be proud of, that you can show, that you can use to promote yourself. And then you get to work one-on-one with me so that I can hold you accountable, because that's what I found. I needed clarity, and this is what you get in Project 100. You'll find the clarity of knowing who you are, what your voice is, and finding that deeper purpose and that conversation that your art, whatever that is having. You will have consistency, because you're going to need that. This is part of knowing what your creative voice is. You might be trying different things, different subjects, or whatever it is, but just like your own voice, there's a consistency to that, and knowing how to do that. And consistency is also not just about your creative voice, but also about being pro, which is what Project 100 is about. It's about launching yourself from just floating around in this hobby land to being pro, and consistency is part of that. And it's about the mindset work as well. We're not doing the practical side of just creating the body of work, but you'll also be talking about the mindset part of it and how to be consistent with that, even when life throws you a shitstorm, even when you get distracted or interrupted, which I know really throws a lot of people. And then they take ages to get back, and I've learned that the hard way. You will get courage, because for all the thinking, for all the knowing, for all the yes, I want to do this, if you don't have the courage to actually take action, and this is where one-on-one work with me means you will have the courage, because I'm going to kick your ass, gently or not, to actually find that courage, and we will work through that and different ways you can find the courage. And part of that is, a lot of it's going to be just like, don't think, just do. And then you practice, and then that's how you find more courage. But courage is what we've been working on as well, because I've learned a lot of time I'm like, oh, maybe I just need more confidence. And my husband said to me, oh no, it's not confidence that you need or that you have. It's the fact that you have courage to show up anyway, even when you don't have the confidence. And then you built that confidence along the way. And I'm like, I married such a really smart man. Courage. And then the commitment. The commitment is the why. It's the why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through the 100 days? Why do you want to end the year with a bang and make 2018 the year that you really took your work seriously and really brought it up a notch? And commitment not just to this creating a body of work, because that's what it is. You practice overcoming distractions. This is how you find your creative flow. This is how you find your creative voice, all that kind of stuff, because your creative voice, whatever that is for whatever your creative work is, will kind of tweak and morph and evolve over time, and you need commitment to your creativity to do that. Those are the things you cover, and that's what I had to learn the hard way, and it took me ages. But also the last thing was community, and so connecting with me, which is why I wanted to have the one-on-one part of it, because you need that. When I had that and I finally invested in that, that's when I really shot up and really produced so much more, which is why when I have my babies, and I had my baby last year, she's almost 1 now, I can't believe it, she's almost 1. I've created more work in that time while she was a baby during her year of her life, and the last year as well, than I've done maybe the 5-6 years beforehand, because I've done it with community. I've invested in that. I've invested in one-on-one. It's that attention and that accountability, but also all the other things, that clarity, the consistency, the courage and the commitment to all these things. And so that's what Project 100 is about. If you're interested, if that resonates with you, love heart showers, and the link is there. Pre-launch, we start September 1st. We're going to be doing intention work and stuff like that. It's going to be a small group, because obviously the one-on-one, I've got babies, I have kinder runs to do, and so yes, so that is what this is all brought to you by. Check out the first video if you haven't already. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope that was super valuable. Hashtag super valuable if it was for you. And rewatch all of this if you need to. Creative flow. It is there for you. You already have everything you need within you to do this. And sometimes it's just awareness and tweaking that helps you connect to that part of you, that creativity, because I know you want it because you've experienced it before. And if you've experienced it before, you can find your way back. It is all just there. It's just a little bit out of your reach if you haven't done it already. And creativity is a habit. Remember that. It's not a skill. So it's just about exercising those muscles, and it's super easy, not like actual working out of muscles, because I struggle with that too. And remember, as always, dare to take your big dreams seriously and do something about it and take that next action today. I will see you next time. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, Emma. Thank you for all of that.